So in terms of the lay of the land for programmatic, we're really at an interesting point. A couple years ago, we weren't talking about things like programmatic direct. Today, programmatic direct is something that's on the lips of every marketer. And it's a big sea change in terms of the way we're buying and the way we're planning for media. The idea of being able to get really premium inventory through broadcasters, through television, is a compelling change. I think the other thing that's significant is really the mindset change. It's incumbent upon planners and strategists and media experts to really begin to think beyond just the automation, but towards a more nuanced approach to KPIs and using programmatic and the programmatic data to become much more effective as marketers. I wouldn't say that digital is more difficult to buy because of the middlemen. I just think that there's so much more inventory and there's so many more players. When you look at television, you've got your networks and your cable providers, when you look at television, you've got your networks and you've got your cable channels. When it comes to digital, there are myriad content suppliers and content producers. There's the original content guys, there's user-generated, there's YouTube, there's Maker, there's full screen, and there's all of the networks and Vivo. So there's just a wider group and a wider swath of potential companies. So I would say the difficulty is really not in necessarily buying the media, but in actually choosing who's the most appropriate and the most relevant for your advertiser. I think to reach those audience, it's incumbent upon the agencies and the marketers to really be using the data sources that we have to cull through. There's a ton of content out there, and there are a ton of great content providers out there. But what we need to do at UM and in media brands is use our tools like AMP to really isolate what is the KPI we're trying to achieve, what is the marketing objective that we're trying to achieve, overlay the data that we have to find the absolutely most appropriate content for that outcome. The benefits to programmatic are really twofold. On the one hand, there's a huge cost efficiency. We're able to get media at a much more effective and cost-efficient rate. The other is it's a significant change, again, in the philosophy and the mindset that we have. Because we are able to take, in the case of UM and the case of media brands, up to 50% of our budgets being moved towards programmatic, we're able to enable our media professionals and our media experts to plan in a much more cogent and much more efficient and much more intelligent manner. It really frees us up to not worry about the buying and the implements that are involved in something that can be very tactical and can be very methodical and complicated, and instead use that time to be thinking about more efficient KPIs and more creative ways to use media. So there's the cost efficiency on one hand, and then there's the philosophical broadening on the other. And I think that's what's so special and so exciting about programmatic for us. I think what we're moving towards is a time where we have a single system, not necessarily because a system is more effective per se, but really because we need to move towards a time and a place where we're much more platform and content agnostic. As marketers, it's incumbent upon us to think of solutions first and not worry about where that content lives, but who's the most relevant user and who's the most important person for us to be marketing to. Not from a GRP perspective, but from an individual person perspective. And I think that a platform enables that. It really enables us to move from thinking about a marketing mix to a consumer mix and a behavior mix that's much more relevant towards the objectives we're trying to accomplish.